Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge, and this is a non-spoiler reaction vlog for Anastasia. I'm not going to say too much on the front end. I'm filming the intro and the outro at the same time, so you'll see this beautiful self again. I'm doing lots of videos today, so I actually put in a little bit of effort. The Jen you will see for the next, I don't even know how much footage I have. I think there's like 45 minutes of it. She does not look this put together, but that's okay. Like, it's okay. I'm not ashamed of that because I spent a full 24 hours completely immersed in this world and I couldn't give two fucks about anything else. So there's that. But yeah, without further ado, here is my reaction vlog. I'll explain what I'm doing like in the first clip, and then I'll be back at the end to talk about, I think the last clip I did was at 80% and then I finished the book, so I'll be back to talk about that part of it. Enjoy. See if you can make anything out of my ramblings and the tears and all the things. So yeah. So the lighting is not so great, but had to film a clip of me here reading the first 1% of Anastasia. I have the playlist queued up on my phone. I did this with The Savage. It was the first one that I did listen to the playlist along with the book because I tend to get distracted by music while I'm reading. I know for some people they can, but I can't. But Sophie writes to the songs and you can feel it when you read along with it. So yeah, it is just about 4 p.m. on Tuesday the 29th, and just had my appointment with my accountant, which was nerve-wracking, but also I'm glad that I got it done because I almost didn't go and pushed it off. And my arc for this came through right as my appointment was getting done, and it kind of felt like it was a reward for doing a good job and going. Yeah. This isn't going to be spoilers. I mean, I wasn't even going to vlog this, but I wanted kind of like a reaction vlog. So I used to do those way back when. I just don't do it much now because I read so fast, or I read late at night or whatever. And I mean, it's freaking winter, so it's a perfect atmosphere for this, but also it gets dark so early. So some of the clips might not be the best, but if anyone's going to film a reaction vlog to Sophie Lark, it's going to be me because she's my homegirl and I'm so excited to read her fantasy debut, but I also don't want to get distracted by my phone too much. So I think, this isn't page-wise, but I think I'll go by percent-wise. Maybe every 10% I'll film just a little clip, and then we'll see what we have, because I'll obviously need to film an intro and an outro for this, but we'll see what we have. So yeah, I'm going to go back into it. I don't want to be talking right now, but I think that'll be good benchmarkers too. We'll see how I get through every 10%, because she said this is 200,000 words, which is her longest book by quite a wide margin. But she's writing fantasy now, so I almost was like, girl, what did you expect to happen? So here we go. Hi, so I got through the first 10%. Let me turn on a light. I do need to make some dinner because I didn't really have lunch or too much of a breakfast today either. I've just been too excited and or anxious. Not just for the book. Obviously, I was very excited to get the book, but the pre-mentioned accountant meeting had me kind of nervous too. So anyway, like I said, this is going to be non-spoilers, so there's only so many things that I can comment on, but 10% in, and we are starting chapter 4. So some of the things I can comment on. The prologue was very intriguing. There are characters we're not sure who they are. I have a hint. about one of the characters that's in the prologue. So we'll see if I'm right about that when they show up later. So far, the magics that I've seen, without like spoiling what they do, is I have seen some elemental situations. There's hints at telekinesis, so like moving of objects, and things to do with time, kind of. We see a teeny bit of that. And also animals with special abilities. Maybe it's the animal, maybe it's the person, I'm not sure, but we'll see. So yeah, the illustrations, so I do highly recommend you read this in a form that lets you see color, so not on a paperwhite. Like, I mean, honestly, I would even read it on your phone if you could, or at least, if you want to read on your paperwhite, switch to your phone when you get an image so you can see them, because they're glorious. I mean, if you've seen any of the art I'll put one up here. If you've seen any of the art that Sophie's been posting that Lena has done, it's stunning, okay? They're stunning, and they fit in so well. Like, so far, they're on, like, the chapter heading, and then, like, there's 1 or 2 pictures per chapter. She said there's over 120 colored images. So I assume there's going to be like 1 to 2 per chapter for the whole thing. And the vibes are so there. Like, it just has that epic fantasy building. And there's just that right amount of history that, if you know a lot about Russian history, like if you're a nerd like me and you know some of it, it's an extra sprinkle. But if you don't know it, it's okay, because, like, it's not like you won't be able to follow along or know. Like, the things you need to know are explained to you. You know what I mean? Like, if you've, seen Anastasia the animated and you, like, know the names of everybody, like, you're good. If you know more than that, if you know more about, like, the history of the world and, like, what the political climate is, like, you'll take more out of that. But you don't have to, you don't have to take anything out of it. So, the point I'm up to right now, we've just met our future love interest. And I'm only saying that because, like, in the blurb, it tells you who the love interest is. I'm not going to spoil how or whatever. Like, it says that it's a Cossack's son who stays with them. And it's kind of like, that situation, like what you do in the Middle Ages, where you would go and, like, foster. Excuse me. Other lords would foster people. And in this case, as punishment, Damien is going to have to stay with the Grand Duke. So, it's really great so far. Like, I feel like I'm just going to be saying that a lot. But the vibes are checking for me so good. Like, oh God, I love it. And the art is beautiful. And Anastasia is a scamp. She's a scamp. There's this really funny line, without spoiling, like, what she does wrong. She gets in trouble for something. And how does Sophie word it? It says, she looked down at the floor in shame. I was a loose, limp, wet teabag on the ground or something. And it just, like, it's a really funny, like, term for, or I was a limp, loose teabag of shame. That's what it was. But it literally expressed, like, what it's like when one of my nieces has been bad and their whole body just, like, droops because they've disappointed their parent. I don't know. That's such a small line, but I just love reading something new from Sophie. It brings me so much joy. So much joy. So, and to get to be one of the lucky few who gets to read it and, like, share it with you guys makes me so happy. So anyway, I need to make some food. That first 10% took me about an hour and a half. Now, granted, I was continually checking my phone. I was going to put my phone away, but, like, I can't help it because I am messaging Sophie as I'm reading it. And, people are asking me some questions, which I'm mostly ignoring the questions just because it's not that anyone's asked me any spoiler questions, but it's just, like, I want to try to stay focused. So I hope that, like right now, like I said, I'm going to make some food, and hopefully the whole like food eating will only take me about an hour. And then I might actually, for the 10% chunks that I'm reading, I might put my phone straight up like up by the TV so that I can't just grab it every 10 minutes. And then hopefully that'll help, because I mean, I won't finish this in one sitting, and I don't like, I want to finish it I'll probably read it within 24 hours, like, because today I don't have anything, and tomorrow I don't have anything until 5. So it's like, I'll finish it in a sitting, but also I don't want to rush through it. So I'm going to read this, I think, until like 11 or midnight, and then stop, and then like switch back to one of the other books that I was reading, so that that's what I'm reading when I'm falling asleep. And then tomorrow I'll get up bright and early and dive back in and like read what I have left. Anyway, this was a long enough clip. I don't want all these clips to be this long, but point is, we're good. We're started. It's rolling. And I'm just, you only get to experience these for the first time one time. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Hi, I'm back. This one's going to be a quicker one. It's now, what time is it? Hold on. 7:30. So a few hours later, and I'm 10% more in. Now I'm just about to start chapter 9, which, look at the art on this one. It's hard to focus because it's very bright, but this one's called First Ball, Last Dance. Oh, fun things are happening, y'all. Fun things are happening. So, again, no spoilery stuff. We meet Rasputin, the mystic. It was actually really cool to see him called the mystic, because you guys wouldn't know this, but there is a channel that I watch that I really love that it's called Mr. Thoughty 2. And he literally last week did a video about Rasputin, the mystic. And I mean, I've read lots of stuff about him. Like, I know certain particular things, particularly the very mysterious, like, hold that he had over a lot of women. Definitely not just the Grand Duchess Anastasia, or not Grand Duchess Anastasia, the Empress Alexandra. Sorry, lots of names that I'm getting stuck together. And the peculiar way in which he died, which they did a lot of freaking stuff to him. And the thing that killed him was like the most benign of all the things. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Anyway, it is a mystery. But how we're introduced to him in the story is very interesting. And he has some interesting mystical things about him. It's so hard to talk about this without spoilers. But I want y'all to experience it yourself. Also, I'm in part 2, technically. So we've skipped ahead 2 years, and Anastasia is learning more about her certain powers, which again, I won't talk about those. And she has a animal friend named Artemis, who I really like. This falcon has attitude, and I love it. I love that she does. I can't wait to read more of her. And yeah, and we have another interaction with Damien. He is an angst puppy for sure, of the highest order. Angst puppy. It's there. And the power that he has, very intrigued about as well. So, still lots of intrigue, and I'm going to power through the next 10%. Like I said, this last 10% took me a while because I had some dinner, I had some leftover Chinese, and I listened to part of my favorite podcast while I was eating, which of course distracted me for a bit longer than I wanted to. So we're going to dive into the next 10%. Here we go. Let's do it. All right. Sorry all these clips are like going to look the same, but this is what happens when I binge read a book. It's why I don't do too many vlogs of certain books. My patrons will know. Most of my vlogs are spread out over days so that I'm not in the same position every time. But anyway, we are up to 30%. It's now 9:30. And after this one, after I film this clip, I think I'm going to wash my face and maybe make some tea. I think I might want some tea. I'm feeling inspired. I went to my favorite snack shop the other day to get stuff for Christmas presents, and I had to get the bottled strawberry crush, even though it has a lot of sugar in it. I had to have it. Orange crush is my favorite, but strawberry is just like, it's special, you know? Anyway, okay. So we have, I'm on part 3 now, I think. Let me check. Yeah, so I'm in part 3, and we did age up 3 more years. So now Anastasia is 16, and it's actually her birthday right now. I think I figured out that Damien is 19, or abouts there, because it says he was 14 when we first met him, being vague about how we first meet him. And now it's been 5 years. So, yeah. Rasputin has been engaged for his healing mystical skills. And one of the things that has brought me the most emotion so far, there's actually 2 parts that I have welled up at. I haven't like full on like cried about anything yet, but I've definitely welled up a few times, and I'll tell you what 2 of those were without them being spoilers. One part is actually when we see Rasputin using his skills, which this is, again, like, this is a historical thing. Like, we don't know what he did, whether it was just all placebo effect or a calming effect or what it was. But there was a reason that Rasputin was kept around Prince Alexei, because he seemed to have these healing properties for this boy who has this horrible disease of which there was no cure, you know? But there's this moment before we're desperate enough to call for him, before he gets brought in. Sorry. There we go. And there's just this really sad moment where we think we're going to lose him. And the family is so devastated. Like, you know, not only is he the heir, but it's also like he's their baby brother. Like, these girls, like, this is their baby brother. And the family, like, this is their hope. This is their heir. But he's also their baby, you know. And there's this line, I actually put it on my Instagram because it's a quote that, like, it just hit me so hard. But something about, like, part of having family is there's going to be loss, and we can't have joy without the pain. And it's a sentiment that we've seen before, but it hits really hard because, like, the Alexandra is like, who's it? Anastasia says something like, I can't go on. Like, I can't imagine, like, I can't go on without him. And the mother's like, we will. Like, it hurts so much because we love him, but we would go on. That's how it works. And, like, that is how loss is, you know. But for now, it seemed like we have a miracle. And again, leaning only on historical context and not for what's going on in this. But obviously, since this is a fantasy, you know, we're more curious about what kind of magic is he doing to do this. Because we're in a fantasy, so it could be that he's being healed for reals, not just happy circumstance or a calming effect. Because even historians, like, nobody really knows what was happening. Like, Alexei absolutely had this disease, and it could have killed him at any time. And it was written that when Rasputin would come around, his pain would ease and his symptoms would ease. Like, that would happen. So I won't tell you how it happens in here or any of that, right? Because we're keeping it up. The other time that I got emotional was when we get to see the Dowager Empress. The Dowager Empress. It made me think of Downton Abbey. Marie, who's called Grandma Minnie in here. And Grandma Minnie's magic is beautiful. And there is a beautiful song that is supposed to be listened to while you read that scene. If you've never listened to one of Sophie's playlists while you read a book, I do highly recommend. It is not something that I have always done, right? Like, I will fully admit it to you. I haven't always done it. I've done it on rereads that I've done of, like, when I reread Broken Vow and when I've reread The Spy, I would do that. The first time I ever listened to a playlist while I read an arc was with The Savage, like, for the very first experience of it. And that was pretty magical. I won't lie. It was pretty magical for me. I loved it. And so, doing that while having the beautiful images that Lena has put in here and listening along, like, it is magical. Like, it's a whole other experience. So please don't rob yourself of that. Just do what I do. Like, I'm trying to stay off of my phone, except when I do these clips. I'm not doing a perfect job, but I'm really trying to focus. But I have the playlist, like, queued up and just sitting beside me. And when I get to the prompt to play the song, I start it. And the way Sophie does it is that she actually, like, times her scenes kind of. So, like, the length of the song will about take you as long as the scene that she wants it to cover. And that's really powerful. It's really impressive. And it just makes her books unlike any other, okay? Like, it's not just having a playlist at the front, but telling you which songs inspired which scenes. It's amazing. So this clip is getting too long. They can't all be this long or this vlog's going to be ridiculous, but I'm at 30%. I'm about to start chapter 14. Oh, I forgot to mention, I had the first chapters from Damien's point of view. Sorry, wanted to plug that. He wasn't in parts 1 or 2. It's just Anastasia's point of view. Well, except for the prologue. That's somebody else. But now I got Damien's point of view. So it's interesting to see what he's thinking of everything after being basically a political hostage for the last 5 years. So anyway, okay, that's it. I'll be back at 40%, and maybe that'll be the last clip that I filmed tonight. Will be at 40%. I'll probably keep reading after that, but anyway. Okay, we'll see. Okay, we are at 40%, and this is my bedroom. This is my headboard. I don't film in here very often. Wow. We're starting to get to points where I really, really can't say much. But wow. So, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Sorry if that's crooked. Things are very much escalating in a historical point of view for what is happening in the dangerous time. We had Anastasia's 16th birthday. I can't remember what I talked about in last, honestly, because I've talked with quite a few people along the way. Ooh, still do have a double chin. When you hold it like that, that's unflattering. But magic is advancing. We've learned more about Rasputin in this one. Sophie's writing him in a very interesting way. And, I mean, I'm not surprised of that because I think that Rasputin is kind of a zaddy or daddy in this. So he's definitely... There's definitely, like, intrigue and things that are a bit of warning bells about him. Particularly a few things that I've picked up on, but he's also so charming, which is something that was said about him. For being a homely looking man, he really could charm the ladies. And Sophie definitely still gotta dig in at his magical penis. If you don't know what I mean by that, look up Rasputin's penis. No, not because you'll get to see a real thing of it, but it has an interesting history. Rasputin's penis does. So there you go. Also for the fact of he was able to convince a lot of very good looking, wealthy women into bed with him. That's not really being played up in this book. Like, that's not where we're going with it. But I just mean there are two aspects where I would call his penis magical. And there definitely are some jibes made at that. But yeah, the tension is very high. I've just started part 4. I'm like 2 chapters into part 4. Damien is in an interesting place right now as well with the first guard or first army, and Anastasia's family. Things are getting very tense and very scary, and my stomach just feels so tight with it. So it is past midnight now. Like I said, filming in my room sure is bright when I have the light on. And I'm going to pause this to finish a different book that I had started before while I was waiting for this. Just because I don't want to be falling asleep reading this. I want to be sharp and alert, because I've taken a ton of notes in my ARC copy. Like, I've taken so many notes. And I want to be sharp. So I'm going to finish the Niva Altage. Her 5th book came out today in her Perfectly Imperfect series. So I'm going to finish that because I only have like 60 pages left. And by the time I'm done with that, I should be sleeping. And then tomorrow we'll be back at it and we'll read the last 60%. Which I'm sure is where all the stuff will happen. But I'm loving the flow of this. If you watched Sophie's 1-minute intro video, I highly recommend that you do that. Because one of the things she mentions is she's like, this is going to feel slow. And then she says, buckle up because it's going to get crazy. And like, I feel like I'm at the place right before that, you know, like the way the tension is rising and the political situation and the magic crescendo, and Anastasia's at the point of could make some bad decisions, like where all of that is culminating. And so I think it's a good place to go to bed. And yeah, so I'm going to finish Niva Altage, and then tomorrow will be the next clip for you guys. So we'll see you then. Okay. Hi. So we're back in this position, and I didn't put makeup on because I'm just going to keep reading. So it is 11:30 a.m. and I've just hit the 50% mark, so it's time to do another update. I wanted to be much further along today, but a couple things happened. One, I woke up with almost a migraine. You know, if you've had a lot of headaches and migraines in your life, you know what I mean. Like, when you're on the brink, like there's pain in your head, and it could go either way. It could push you fully into a migraine, or it could go away. So I had to spend the first like 2 hours today like taking it easy. And the thing is that I don't normally read on my tablet for very long. But obviously I'm doing Anastasia because there's beautiful pictures, which, by the way, I'll show you a picture. There is Rasputin. Doesn't he look like a zaddy? Like, he totally does. Oh, I love it. I love it. Sorry, hold on. Getting back to where I was. And so it was just a lot on my eyes yesterday. I know that. And so I woke up with my head hurting, and I didn't want to be miserable all day, so I had to take it slow. And then, of course, there is the normal morning stuff of messaging and getting caught up on everything and making sure it's all good, and that's what happens. But anyway, we are at technically 48%, but I just finished chapter 24. Also, another thing that happened is that Sophie's going to be coming on my channel on the 17th. The 17th. To chat. Is it the 17th? I think it's the 17th. I just made the art for it. I'm pretty sure it's the 17th. And so I was getting the live show like set up and like up so people could see it and set a reminder. And I went to put the affiliate link for Anastasia on my channel. And this book is like 857 pages. So that's why the progress is slow. Because that means that each 10% is like 85 pages. So we're making our way through. So yeah, I'm like at the halfway point. And I know in the last 10%, I said we were probably getting really close to a lot. And I stand by the fact that, like, you know, Sophie said this was going to start slow and then it was really going to go. And I just want to be clear that it does have a slow build to what's happening, but I've never been bored. And there's just so many lush details. But I can already foresee some people are going to be like, oh, it took too long to like get to the point. Like, there are going to be people who say that. Well, this is an epic fantasy, and it is a prequel for an entire fantasy world that Sophie is going to be writing. So you have to give someone the time for it, okay? You got to give people the time for it. And this isn't like a mafia book that's 400 pages. You know, this isn't something quick you're jumping into. Like, she's building a fantasy. She's doing something epic. It needs time, you know, like Sarah J. Maas takes 1,000 pages to do something. And what Sophie's doing, in my opinion, is just as glorious, okay? It's just as glorious and wonderful, and I fucking love it. So anyway, when I did my last update, I know I said that there was a lot of tension rising and I felt like some things were going to snap. And we definitely have had some revelations, specifically some revelations about said black monk that I showed you a picture of. And some things that I was guessing, some things that were unclear, and I now know. But still a lot of secrets. I know this is a reaction vlog with no spoilers, so I can't tell you what I found out. But if you know some of the things Sophie has said about what her future series is going to be, or, you know, you listen to her minute like intro video, it's not that some of those things were a surprise. It is a surprise like how it all fits and what her version of this kind of fantasy world is, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to keep these clips under 5 minutes now because I know there's only going to be more going on. So I'm going to dive right back in, but that's where we're at. We're at 50%. It is the 30th of November. It's the last day. So we got all day to read. And I should be able to finish 400 pages before bed tonight. We should be able to do it. It'll be good. We're at 60%. And I'm going to keep this update real short. I mean it. Because there's nothing that I can say. I was right about a few things. I was wrong about other things. My stomach is so tight. And not because I have abs, because I don't. But because I'm stressed. Okay, I'm fucking stressed out. And I have to go to the gym in a few hours. And I don't know if I'll finish this before I do, which is going to be stressful for me. But I can't skip out of the gym again. But, yeah. I literally can't say anything right now other than Anastasia is a very smart character, but not so smart that it's like she knows too much, but smart as in when things don't fit, she questions it and tries to figure out how to make it work. You know what I mean? And if there's info we've picked up before, she might not immediately be like, oh, it's that. Like we, the reader, because we can see it so clearly. But it doesn't take her too long to remember the things that we've learned before and to put the pieces together. But the revolution is coming closer and closer. And I feel it marching. And I feel that intensity building. And I'm scared for our characters. But the thing that I know and the thing that I love about Sophie's writing is that I trust her. My stomach is tight and I'm anxious. But it's because I love her characters. And I love them. And I'm scared what's going to happen. And I'm also scared because this is still historical, fantasy fiction, romance, whatever. And a lot of the Romanovs die, okay? In the real life, a lot of them die. And I don't know which ones in this fantasy world will and won't. And that has me stressed. That has me very stressed. Okay, that's all the update we're doing for this one. Okay, bye. It's only 5% later. But it's the 5% that changes everything and answers a lot of our questions. And I think I'm going to be sick. I want to throw up now. Just refer to the last clip I filmed about knowing certain things and then seeing them happen. I have to keep going or else I'll go cry in the corner. But yeah, but I just finished part 4 at 65. I'm at 65%. Oh boy. Oh boy. This is 70%. Chapter 37. When you know, you'll know. That's it. That's all. Hi, so we're in my room again. There's my Doctor Who Van Gogh painting. Isn't that beautiful? So I need to get ready to go to the gym. Yes, I'm not going to skip it today. Also because I just want to mentally prepare for the last little bit. So I'm up to 80%. And no spoilers, but it's time to kick some Rasputin ass, okay? That's what I have to say about it. I have absolutely loved the flow of this book. There is something I want to mention because I don't want anyone to go in with the wrong expectations and be expecting something different from this, okay? This is a slow burn, enemies to friends to lovers, in the romance part. Sophie does not lack in making this romantic, but this is not of the same smut level or smuttiness as before, okay? This is to use an analogy, this is Empire of Storms as far as smut goes, if that makes sense. So great chemistry, great longing, and that it's there, it's in you, it's a part of you, but we don't have time to fuck all the time. And that first climax, let's just call it that, is so much more about emotion than graphic sexual content, which I know that's what a lot of people are about romance anyway, so it's not I'm breaking anyone's heart here. But there are two things that I see being people's critiques of this book who aren't here for the journey and are here for the kind of fantasy smut they've been finding on TikTok. And I'm not shaming that. I've read a lot of them, okay? I've read a lot of them. But if people are looking for the hotter, quicker, smutty, but with vampires or with, magic abilities that we've been getting in the past couple of years, that's not what this is, okay? I put this on a Sarah J. Maas level story, but it being a historical fantasy romance, okay? So, you know, there's a lot more of the real world mixed into it than there is in those kind of worlds. So people might be like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about how well the story's planned, how things are revealed, how characters think and grow, and they've made mistakes, but they learn from them and like go on from there. And also Anastasia isn't perfect. You know, she isn't an Aelin Galathinius. That's not where I'm going with those kind of comparisons. I mean, for like the buildup and the thought and making you fall for people. So I'm getting messages from Sophie right now because I just sent her my updates. But anyway, I will maybe do a check-in at 90%, or I might just wrap this up tomorrow once I have, because tomorrow I need to film my monthly wrap-up, and then I'll finish this up, and then there's another video I need to film. So that's when I'll film the intro for this video and then the end. So yeah, because obviously I can't spoil anything. So I'll either, if you know there are any more like heart-pounding moments where I do a quick little flash or something, I will. Otherwise, you'll just see me looking fly and I'll wrap this up. But I'm going to finish it tonight. I just don't know that I will like film the another clip tonight. I might just wrap this up because I'm sure I'll have a lot to say and I've already talked too much in these clips. So anyway, I can't wait for you all to read this book. So fucking excited. Okay, here we are. So yeah, I, of course, don't want to tread on any spoilers for this. I feel like reaction videos are always so interesting because the people watching them, they're trying to glean something, or, you know, if they know your reading taste, maybe decide if they should read a book, or because they're just so excited for the book that they want any content you make about it, which I completely understand. That's why I love reaction vlogs. In this case, there are just so many magical things I want everyone to experience with this book. And so I can't even remember too, like all the things that I filmed in the previous clips and what I've said about this. So I want to use this end part to just kind of sum up the feelings I was left with at the end, because I feel like my feelings are the reaction and that's where I want. And then a couple of like expectations to set for you to have just the best time, because I want everyone to have this amazing experience reading this book and to not feel like they were expecting something different. Because this book is not these. It's not these. Sophie's going a totally different way. And the fact that she has the range to have written these books and now write this one, I'm flabbergasted. Like, I don't know another way to say it. If she had come up with a different pen name and released this under something completely different, I would believe it. But yet, because she's someone I love so much, I absolutely see her in it, particularly in how her characters grow, how their romance feels. This is, you know, obviously the slowest burn. Hold on here. People are messaging me. I have to shut that down. But though this story is fantasy romance, and the romance must exist for this fantasy to play out, and the fantasy is what makes the romance even better. And for me, that's what I love in fantasy romance. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for equal parts. It's not going to feel like equal parts for a good part of the book. And it's going to be more in the wheelhouse and more of the feels for someone who loves fantasy. So if you are new to fantasy because of Sophie, or you're new to Sophie because of fantasy, I honestly think those people have the easiest amount of time. If you're new to Sophie but you love fantasy, if you love historical fantasy, if you love those, you know, I mean, I hesitate to make this comparison because it's not like it in style, but it's like it in the scope of it. You know, if you like the Winter Night trilogy, which I know is an inspiration to Sophie, so I'm not reaching too far. Like, that is something she loves. But that kind of writing that you feel the weather, you feel the isolation, you feel cramped and uncomfortable and cold when your characters are cold. It just seeps in your bones. Like, I found myself holding my blanket tighter and just wanting to burrow down into it. And it's amazing. And I can't stress enough how glorious the art is that Lena did. Like, I can't get over it. It is just glorious. It's so beautiful. And there's going to be an audiobook for this. Sophie just didn't, I mean, we knew there would be one. They have audiobooks for almost all of her books at this point. What was I saying? The narrators are picked out and they're starting right away, but it takes a while, and this book is 857 pages. So she's hoping by March to have it done. You know, they were already like gearing up for that. So this will be very magical to listen to. I already can't wait to listen to it and read it, but I still highly suggest that if you're going to wait for the audiobook, that you still have the book open when you listen, because there are pictures at the beginning of every chapter and in every chapter. So there's, I think she said, over 120 images in here, and they make the story breathe. They make the story come alive. It's so elegant and decadent, and you feel just so immersed in the story. Anyway, I'm gushing so hard. I'm sorry. Okay, the parts about expectation. So like I was saying about the romance, like, this is not a smutty romance novel. It's not even a spicy fantasy romance novel. There are open door sex scenes. There was enough romance to have my toes curling sometimes. But it's because Sophie she really figures out how to make that quality where just soft touches mean so much. And I won't tell you why. There is a very specific reason why touches and a brush of the cheek or the faintest kiss on the lips just electrify you in an amazing way, and why they feel like risky and charged. And that's a kind of romance that I don't indulge in very often. I mean, y'all know, if you're watching this, like, I'm a spice queen. I like it. But my roots are in fantasy. And so when I read a fantasy romance that is this well built and this immersive, I tell you no lie, I would have been okay if there was closed door sex scenes in this book. They're not. Please don't be afraid of that. They're not. But by the time they were happening, there's so much engulfed in the oneness between these characters and what it means for them, that the motions of their bodies and where slot or tab A is going into slot B, like, so not the point of it. And it doesn't have the carnality maybe of some previous books of Sophie's, which, again, I love. Multiple times love. But I do think that Sophie wasn't afraid about not trying to make what TikTok is looking for right now. But that might disappoint some people if they don't know that going in. So I don't want you to get caught up in looking for that. This is slow. Again, we start when they're children. If you've seen, like, we start when they're like 11 and 14. And we spend a good amount of time with them. Not at 11 and 14, but in their adolescence. And with them being apart, because she's a princess and he is an enemy's son. And let me wrap this up. Because I still have to talk about this book in my, like, monthly wrap up too. What this book left me with at the end was bittersweet joy for the parts of history that are kept the same, and so much hope for the future. And we're left with a character that we go from, it is not that Anastasia is a bad girl, but she was born into privilege. She was born into the top of everything. And though her family, not everything is easy because everyone has problems, you know, they're quite literally, some of them are like rich people problems, poor people problems. But does it matter if you're rich, if your brother has a disease no one can heal? Does it matter if you're rich, if your people hate you and want to tear you down? Like, what does that mean? And so we start with this girl who, she doesn't know that anything's wrong. And through a relationship, through relationships, not just one, not just with our love interest, but through growth and through pain and through her mistakes, she makes some horrible mistakes that have dynasty-ending consequences. But what does she do when she's in the literal pits of despair? There's a little spark, there's a little hope that's left. And it's what she does with that. And when she owns her mistakes and is humble, what she's able to do. Because this girl has power. This is magical. This is fantastic. It's fantasy. But if you don't know how to wisely use your gift, if you're not doing it for good, if you're not doing it for the betterment, what are you using it for? What are you doing with it? And that is something that her father in this does try to get across to her, even in the midst of his own issues, right? So I'm going to stop now because, like, this was supposed to be a reaction vlog, but I hope that I've set you up for success with this. I hope you have pre-ordered this book. I hope you'll get it on release day. I hope you'll buy 4 editions of this book like I plan to do. I hope you will just be wrapped up. So get some tissues, get some chocolate, get your fuzziest blanket, get some headphones to listen to the music, and get ready for a magical adventure for however long it takes you to read this book. And I hope you'll come back and chat with me here. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Sophie is going to be coming on my channel on December 17th. You know, when there's a new Sophie book, she's going to come visit Jenn. We have a long relationship at this point, and it just gets better and better every time we get to do one of these. So I cannot wait. And we'll hopefully discuss what's coming next, because this is one thing I want to impart as well. This is a standalone. It will be a prequel to her fantasy trilogy she's writing, which will be about vampires, which she has said, so I feel like I can say. So you'll definitely learn a little bit about those things in this one, but I won't say more than that. But this will be like a complete standalone on its own. So this is a good place to start with Sophie. This is a good place to get into her. And then when this trilogy comes, she says, we'll be back to a little more of the spicy repertoire that she has. But you don't want to miss out on this because you think you need it to be horny. Because I promise, you don't need it to be horny. This book is fantastic, okay? It's great. And I promise you, I'm the first one to say I would like more spice on my dish, okay? But the emotions more than make up with it. So, okay. Thank you. I'm really signing off. I mean it. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. It means so much to me. And yeah, we'll talk later. Bye.